Tomorrow we will, at the very least, be getting more information on the new update for Grounded, and it's also likely that the public test server will be opening. If not tomorrow, then next week at the very latest, as the new update is scheduled to be released on November 13th. In this video, I'm going to discuss everything we know so far about the new update and what else I think could be included in it. Let's start with what we know. So right now in the background, I'm playing the trailer that was released a few weeks ago. In this trailer, you're going to see that it looks like a new creative mode or possibly a modification of the existing creative mode. You'll notice that the player is able to place down in-game assets that you currently cannot place, like extra baseballs. There's also charcoal and some other things scattered around the map, like the juice boxes. And what this is going to allow us to do is make more customizable maps. So if you're building obstacle courses, escape rooms, PvP arenas, just about anything, even bases and stuff like that. So that's what we know so far. Now let's talk about what else is likely to be included in this next update. First up is I expect there to be more customization in the menus. So if they're giving full creative mode where you're able to place in-game assets, I would expect there to also be more customization. Maybe you could have the time of day set to a specific time. Maybe you could make the day of time longer. Maybe you can just have things spawn where you want them to. I was thinking also possibly there being mob spawners. So it will be pretty interesting if you could basically maybe you build an obstacle course or you build some kind of a dungeon you have to escape from, and you could have mob spawners in it. Think Minecraft when you go down underground and there's just mob spawners down in the dungeons down there. That would be pretty interesting. I think at the very least, you'll probably be able to place bugs wherever you want because they are assets. But being able to place mob spawners so they randomly spawn in would also be pretty cool. Outside of the custom creative mode that they showed, I think there's a couple other things that are going to be likely to occur. I can't imagine this entire update is going to be focused on that one game mode, although I think that's going to be the bulk of it. But I think at the very least, they're going to add one new boss in this update. They added 2 new bosses in the last update, which was earlier in the year. I think the most likely boss that they could add would be an Ant Queen. And if it was going to be an Ant Queen, it would either be a Red Ant Queen or a Fire Ant Queen. It could be a Red Ant Queen if they want to make like a beginner boss, like the easiest one. Could be a Fire Ant Queen if they want to make one a little tougher. I don't think a Black Ant Queen makes sense because there's already a boss in that area. But what they could probably do for this, and I think like this is something they've utilized all along up in the development, I think what they could do is basically just take the Termite King model and reskin it and make it an Ant Queen. So that should make the rigging of it and the movement of it just a lot easier than if they had to like create it from scratch. And also the Fire Ants do have similar attacks to the termites. So I think it would make sense if they just took the Termite King, made it an Ant Queen. I think that would be the easiest way to do it. If they do that, it would surely come with either a new armor set or armor piece and then a new weapon, possibly a new mutation. So all those things coming along with, anytime they add any new creatures, they typically add something like some item that goes along with them. And then in addition to that, I think something that's very likely, I probably could have put this at the top, would have been vertical half walls. That's something people have been asking for forever. So the vertical half walls for the grass, the stem, the mushroom, and then the ash, I think that's very likely to be added because that's kind of seems like, in my opinion, the last building piece that's currently not available, and it's one that I know a lot of people ask for. So those are the things I think are most likely to be added that haven't been mentioned yet. These are the things that I think are possible, but there's still a chance that they might not happen. So first up will be a new bug. I believe in the game files there was data for a dragonfly and possibly an earwig. I know there was something for a dragonfly. It will be pretty interesting if they added a dragonfly just humming over the pond or the upper pond or just flying around the yard in general. The earwig could be placed pretty much, I think, anywhere in the yard, and that's a common bug that's in North America. So either one of those could be added. In addition to that, if they're going to add a second boss, I think what would be the most likely, I think the most obvious would be either a lizard or some other boss that's under the sandcastle. So of course there's the rock that's blocking what looks like a tunnel under the sandcastle that's been there since basically the sandbox was updated, which was quite a while ago. I can't even remember when it was. It was quite a while ago when that was updated. And all along, we kind of speculated that you would be able to go underneath there and there'd be something. Maybe even if there's not a boss, maybe it'll just be like a area you have to go to. Maybe you have to use the bomb arrows or something, like the highest tier explosive to be able to break it, to get into it. And maybe there's something special down there. But I think it seems like the perfect place to put a new boss. And then, of course, if they add any new bugs or any of that boss, it would make sense to also have either a new armor set, armor piece, or weapon, or all the above. Possibly new mutations to go along with the new boss, because actually, I think all the bosses have mutations to go along with them. They also could add something I didn't mention, or likely if they added a boss, they're probably going to add a trinket, because I think all the bosses have trinkets as well. So that's something they could add. Something I think is possible. This is something that's been asked for. The next 2 things are something that have been asked for quite a while, and I think they'll be easier to implement over some of the other things that I'm going to talk about later. First up will be cosmetics for the teens. I know they've said all along they're not going to add new characters to the game, and they don't want to do more than 4 players, but something people have been asking for a long time is being able to change the clothing that the teens are wearing. So that could also be something for long-term progress. Perhaps you have to unlock them either through some type of quest line, or maybe you have to discover them. Maybe they're hidden around the map and you have to discover them. Maybe you have to craft them out of high tier resources or mid tier. Maybe they could just have different sets for them. So I think cosmetics could possibly happen. Next up is going to be a higher tier glider. So right now you just have the dandelion tuft. That's going to let you float down. Of course, they did add zip lines going both ways. And there's also the rare dandelion tuft, which has just more durability and lets you go, I think, a little bit longer. But I think a high tier glider, especially if it was mid to late game, would be very useful for those that just want to be able to just traverse like long distances. Like imagine you just want to jump off the picnic table and go all the way over to the oak tree without having to build a zip line, or go from the upper yard to the lower yard. Maybe you just want to build a tower and you don't want to use the zip line. You just want to fly around on your glider. I think that'd be pretty interesting. Something they could make that from would be if they add the new dragonfly. Perhaps the dragonfly wings could be a glider, or they can make it out of the wasp wings or something like that, or even the wasp queen. And then, or it could be even pupa leather, because that's a tier 3 leather. You can make it out of pupa leather. In addition to that, I think they're going to add, there's a possibility they're going to add more Burgle Hunter quests. So I went and checked, and I was correct that there's currently not Hunter quests for every single type of mob in the game. Some off the top of my head I can think of would be the green shield bug. There's no Hunter quest for that mob. There's no Hunter quest for many of the infected bugs, but there are, if you kill, as an example, if you kill an infected weevil, I believe it gives you credit for killing a weevil. If you kill an infected ladybug, it gives you credit for killing a ladybug. They could add where if you have to actually specifically kill those to get the quest done. But I know the green shield bug doesn't have one. I'm sure there's probably a couple others that don't have one. Maybe I don't think scarabs have one either. Also, there's a possibility they could add new food or smoothie, specifically if they add a new boss or bosses. Most of the time, since they've added the new bosses, there typically is going to be some type of smoothie or food that's going to give you a buff to protect you against the bosses. As an example, the Wasp Queen, there's, I believe, a food and a smoothie that gives you, the smoothie, I think, takes off the poison that the Wasp Queen inflicts on you, and I think there's a food that also gives you a buff to protect you from the Wasp Queen special attacks. And then these are things that these are kind of borderline, and what is possible versus what I think is possible is very unlikely. So these were the ones that were on the borderline. The next two. First up is going to be a shed biome. I think that would be the most likely biome they would add if they're going to add one. The shed is very large. It's already in the map, and they basically would have to just add something in the upper shed area where you go inside of it. You used to be able to go clip through the wall and get in there, and there was just kind of nothing in there. The next most likely will be the going under the deck of the house, or even something on the deck. For the longest time, they had the construction tape around there, making it look like they were going to add a lot of stuff up there. They ended up not really adding much up there at all. There's also nothing under the deck, so I think that could also be a biome that could possibly be added. And it wouldn't be, I don't think it would be terribly difficult to add that. Also, if they've been working on either one of those biomes, they did say it takes roughly like 6 months to work on them. That was April. So it's been about it's been 6 months almost exactly to the day since they added that last update. And then last but not least, this is what else has a chance of being added, but seems unlikely at this time, especially considering they focused mostly on the creative mode that they were showing off, the custom creative mode. Number one will be going inside the house. This is something people have been asking for from as long as I can remember. It's from the first time I played the game. People want to go inside the house because, of course, the game's loosely based on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and in that movie, the kids do end up going inside the house. I think that would be a very big undertaking, so it could happen, but I think it's unlikely. Next up, we'll be going into a neighbor's yard. That's another thing people have been asking for, possibly going into a yard. I know when people say we can go into a yard, there could be new bugs. While that could possibly be the case, I think if you just go in your neighbor's yard, like I don't think if I go in my next door neighbor's yard in real life, there's just suddenly going to be all kinds of like completely different bugs from where my current yard is, but they could certainly do something where maybe you go like through the fence or something, there's a crack in the fence and there's like a small biome on the other side of a fence. And then last but not least, this is something that has been asked for again for quite a while, probably as long as I can remember, and especially got more traction after another game came out that's similar to this game that also has this as a feature, and that will be mounts. People have been asking for mounts for quite a while. In Small Land, you can get tons of different mounts. There's grasshoppers. You can ride lizards. I think you can ride spiders. There's also, I believe, there's a flying mount. Yeah, you can fly. It's some kind of flying mount. I can't remember exactly which one it was because it's been so long since I played it. I would be thinking in Grounded if there's going to be mounts. One that I always thought would be useful would be a ladybug, which could be like a tank you're driving around in. She basically would protect you. Or you could even have like a red ant that would be able to carry stuff for you because ants can carry like heavy loads. Or ideally something like a bee. Probably a bee, not a wasp, because the wasps seem too aggressive, but being able to tame a bee and be able to fly around the map would be pretty cool. That would have to be something super late game. So anyway, that's everything we know for sure about the new update and everything I think could also be included in it. I'll be streaming on both Twitch and YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern Wednesday to discuss the update news, and if available, I'll be jumping into the public test server. The link for my Twitch channel is in the description below if you want to watch there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.